Good evening. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Nicole Michelle. For those of you who don't know me, and for those of you who do know me, thanks for supporting me and welcome back. I normally don't do Friday night rooms, but this is a special situation because of the passing of the brother Kevin Samuels. For those of you who are joining me for the very first time, my name is Nicole Michelle, founder of the Inner Beauty Movement, and that movement was created to help women reconnect with their feminine core and to simplify the pathway to marriage. Um, my experiences with Kevin came about. Um, I think I made some connections with some people on YouTube, and he found me that way. He connected with me on Facebook, and we collabed a couple of times. Tony, you might remember that. We collabed a few times, and
Absolutely.
he had already had his YouTube channel up. I didn't know who he was, but he seemed pretty knowledgeable on the image consultant, and you could probably speak to that later on. The image consulting, he knew his stuff, and the ladies were very excited about a man's perspective on fragrances and image consulting and things like that, because we just didn't come across a lot of that in the way he presented himself and things like that. His connection with the Manosphere caused us to really move away from one another professionally because I was just starting out and I did not want to really partner with anybody, specifically because I didn't know which direction I wanted to take Inner Beauty Movement. And I was really trying to follow the direction of the Lord and how I wanted the Inner Beauty Movement to come across. I didn't want it to come across as some movement to drag women, to make them feel bad or less than. It was a movement for building up women, making them stronger, um, in their womanhood, stand proudly as feminine women, understanding that, and absolutely getting what they desire in terms of um, romance and family, and just really understanding how to be a woman. And it just wasn't probably two other major femininity content creators out at that time. And this was 2018. The explosion of femininity content creators happened in 2019-20. That happened when myself and a couple of other people had already been here for a minute, and then the younger women kind of came and took it to the next level. But the movement was never meant to crowd people out. It was meant to be inclusionary in helping women improve. And some women took it as an assault. They are less than, but I digress. Never meant to be that. However, other people have come on the scene, and now there's been this great um, uh, uh, um, expansion of the message about femininity, the conversation. Women are less hostile now towards conversations about femininity and relationships. And I'm setting the context of where I'm going with this and why I'm talking about Kevin tonight. I'm speaking from someone who actually worked with the man, and what his intentions were when we actually collabed. His What he told me in private was that his goal was to work with men and to be the sort of like the gentleman trainer, and I was supposed to be the femininity trainer. And that's how he wanted to go into business. I was kind of nervous about that because was still developing the inner beauty movement, and I didn't want to commit myself to something and not be able to, produce. I wanted creative freedom. And once you partner with people, those people that are in business, once you partner, you lose kind of your creative mobility a little bit. And I wanted to be free as a woman. I wanted to be free enough to um um discuss how I felt. And I really appreciate you all sharing. because I'm going to share some stuff about Kevin here. All right, let me share. Okay. So I appreciate all of you sharing, because that lets me know that you're actually vibing with this content. Sasha, if you don't mind, can you add topics for me?
Sure.
Probably relationships, dating, and marriage, probably, if you could. So anyway, that was that. So that collab was just, we kind of orbited each other on YouTube in different spaces. Um, he continued to do his content on YouTube geared towards men. He never stopped with that. He was one of the most consistent brothers I saw on YouTube in terms of helping men. There have been men who have started out primarily with the mission of helping Black men get themselves together, improve, and then they veer off into other niches because it's not lucrative. Um, Shout out to the brother Styles OG and a couple of other people. The Bowtie Guy, I think that's his name on YouTube. Those fellas are still in the industry and they've managed to monetize it and be fairly successful. But Kevin, I think, started orbiting the Manosphere, and that group of men is a special group of men. Excluding the ones that I'm cool with, which is about three or four of them. The rest of them tend to have a strong chip on their shoulder. And Tony was with me when I came to YouTube, so she can testify that what I'm telling you is true. When I
Yes.
first came to YouTube, they were down my neck from day one.
They were
Um,
down your neck because you were on traditional relationships that men pay all the bills, and they didn't seem to mesh with that really well. So yeah,
exactly.
when it came to any femininity training, coaching, talking, anything, when I came onto the scene, it was all Nicole Michelle. It was nobody else that was, that I was paying attention to, that was, speaking on the things that Nicole was talking about. And I just really latched on to her because I am, in every sense, a traditional feminine woman. And Nicole was getting a lot of those Manosphere guys just coming against her. It was just horrible, but Nicole got a faithful crew, a faithful few that just stuck with her. And I think a lot of us are still riding with her till this day. Hence, this is why I'm here right now with her. Kevin, I remember him as being the image guy. He was trying to tell men, hey, if you want these traditional type feminine women, step your game up. You are the man. You should lead in these instances and get yourself together, whether it be your wardrobe, your shoes, your cologne, your frames, anything that would make you crispy looking as a man, that would draw attention to yourself for the type of women that you wanted. And that soon fizzled out because men weren't cool with him either, saying those type of things. So Nicole has been here. She's been ride or die on this feminine journey. And I've been just happy to back her up. I mean, I remember we had heated panels where, some of the other guys would just come on and we would be just yelling like they did not want to take on. Excuse me, my
Oh,
little grandbaby, she's saying hi. But yeah, we would get into heated situations where men were just coming up against the traditional um, unity of marriage. So it's been a long ride, and Kevin fought a good fight. I cannot lie. I have been so sad. I mean, I literally just thought this morning, I thought, wow, he is really gone. And that's just really sad. I feel like he had so much more to do. He had so much more work to do, and his time was cut short. But what I do know is that I was on Demetrion's clubhouse earlier, and what I said was we couldn't get used to how he would talk to us, right? But yet, everywhere I listen, we as women, we talk to each other the same way that Kevin has been talking. It's just not, they just didn't like the messenger, but I cannot say that he was sitting up there lying. He was not lying. He's an intelligent man, you know and it just really bothers me because now I feel like, hey, his talking points and everything that he was all about, it's going to be pushed more to the forefront, because there are younger guys and even middle-aged guys who were his colleagues, his friends, who have big platforms. So the things that he's been talking about, it's gonna get continued to talk about. And honestly, Kevin is a worldwide name right now. He's a household name. So there's no way that other people are not going to hear about what he's been talking about. And our image as women, I'm just I can't I'm sad. I'm sad. I wish we could change our image. And that is what he was trying to do for those men. It was about image. And if people couldn't get past how he spoke, or they took it as, oh, he's talking down to me, get out of your own head. That's not what he was saying. You know, yes, he was saying things that just, people couldn't get past. It was his tone. I get it. But can you have thought beyond what he was actually saying? Could you just imagine what he was literally trying to do for us black women, black men? So it's a sad day. I'm just yeah, I'm lost for words.
So you said a lot, and the reason why I wanted you up here is because you were with me when I came to YouTube. You followed me on Facebook. From Devin was there. I
Yes.
think Vita was with me. You all have been my ride or dies, and you all were following me on Facebook when I had like 40 likes. You followed me to YouTube, so you saw this whole evolution. And where me and Kevin divided, okay, me and Kevin divided when he came on my show. I think you remember that show. He came on and me and him went toe to toe because I was talking about
Yeah.
marriage. And remember when Kevin was on that state sponsored marriage? You
Oh
remember that?
yeah, he was driving that home. He really
Yes.
was. And you were
And
like,
me
no, because you were having us women thinking other ways, like, yeah, you can say all that, but when it comes down to what if something happens, we have to make sure that we're going to be able to live beyond what we were just doing in those moments as a
right.
couple.
And
Like,
so
that's what I'm saying. Like, getting away with that non-state marriage and all that stuff, that was like really not the thing to do. You were really
so
against
that
that.
particular show, which is in my Patreon, which you can go back and listen to for a small fee, is archived. Which is actually gonna be gold now, unfortunately. But me and him went toe to toe. I went toe to toe with him that night, and I think from that point on, I kind of had a wall up with him, in terms of creativity, because I'm like, no, I'm sticking to the marriage message. These women need to be protected. Everything that Tony just said, and he was like, no, state something. It was really really bad to where I was getting messages from my audience. Don't ever let Kevin come back on your stage again, but because they were just so shocked at how he was talking to me. But you all can go listen to that at any time. It's in my Patreon, and you can find that link in my bio. I didn't mean to plug that, but I mean that's just a reference in case people think I'm just clout chasing or making stuff up. I have the proof. Okay. So anyway,
Oh yeah.
so at that he started really rotating with the Manosphere heavy, 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 and at that point I noticed that when I would go live, the Manosphere men would just pile into my room and start badgering Tony, badgering Devin, badgering the women in my room. And at that point, there were no women in the manosphere talking about femininity. I was it in terms of, and I was introduced by O'Shea. And as far as they knew, nobody else was doing it. So they felt, oh wow, this woman is coming. She's got all these young, hot women in her room. Let's come over there and twerk and act a fool. And when I shut that down, I said, no, you can't come over here and run amok in my chat. This is a safe space for my audience. Stop it. I knew immediately I had made a mistake because they felt. carte blanche to come run amok. And I see that in some of the other women who are now associated with the Manosphere, how the men come in and just dogpile on the women in the chat and on the stages. And I just was not going to allow that. I worked hard to earn the trust of women who listen to me, and they're there in good faith. Some are still not sold on me completely, and but the last thing they need is for some weird socially awkward dude with no PTR, no face, jumping down her throat because she asked me something or she made a comment or whatever. And they never attack the trolls who came in there after me. They always attack the women who were generally there asking questions, participating, and I had to stop that. So I looked at my analytics and I said, wait a minute, I have more dudes coming in here than I have my audience. I'm trying to build a female audience. The men are running the women off. And just by natural attrition, my message evolved to where I started talking about traditionalism. And that's where the manosphere had a problem. And that's why I later critiqued his audience, which I'm going to come back to because I think they're hypocrites. But, and I'm going to tell you
Right.
why I said that. Because when I started talking about traditionalism in 2018, the fall of 2018, I'm telling you, nobody was talking about traditionalism in 2018. Tell me where they were talking about that in 2018 on YouTube, and I'll tell you it was my channel. And we talked about it for hours. And I made the comment, I said, men need to pay the cost to be the boss if they want a feminine woman. From that point on, the manosphere cut me off.
No
Had nothing else to
peso,
say to me.
no say so was
No
another one.
pesos, no say
Yes.
so is what I said.
Yes.
Those dudes went ham. They cut me off. They said I was old. They said I was fat. How dare you? You ugly. You a fake. You fake femininity. All the whole nine. Up until then, I was their darling. All of them were twerking, trying to get on my channel. I had proof of it in my Patreon. I had did shows with these guys co-signing me. But when I said no pesos, no say so, when I said pay the cost to be the boss, Tony, they checked out. They jumped on me, and you were a
Yeah.
witness.
Oh my gosh. It was it exposed the broke dusties. That's what we got down with the dusties right
So
there.
fast
That
forward.
exposed
So fast
everyone.
forward. Kevin is heavy in the manosphere at this point. So I'm over here building my audience, and he's over there with the manosphere. He still was actually primarily speaking to men. I don't remember him at that point until late 2019. No. Late late 2019 that he actually did shows geared towards women. And I think your show where he actually brought you on stage to do an image consulting thing with you,
Right.
that was the first time he actually did live content about women. And you came from my audience, correct?
Yes,
Right?
it was March 2019 that I did that
There
with
it
him.
is.
March
There it
2019.
is. There it is. So that's how that, and then I was like, well, okay, so he wants women. He wants to work with women. That's fine, but he needs to get them on his own because I felt like, okay, we have a predatory situation, which later actually manifested with other people who attached themselves to my movement, preying
Oh yeah.
on my audience, and I've had to cut them off, and that was, so and that was what I was afraid of with him because I'm like, okay, let me pull back a little bit because I see this may be problematic. Followed by instincts. Well, he started hanging out with the Manosphere, and at that point, he noticed that in his analytics, he started to do well when he did content for women. And I don't exactly know when he did the full switch, but when he did the full switch, boom, he slowly started to gain momentum. And it started with uh huge content creators in the black part of YouTube really coming over there and criticizing him is actually what put him on. And then that gained traction. And as that gained traction, that viral video was taken from a show and put on World Star Hip Hop. a World Star, the website that went, the first one went kind of viral. So then at this point he's at 300, 400,000. Then he did the average at best video, and that put him in the stratosphere.
Yeah, I want to
And then
say, excuse me, I don't want to cut you off. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to say he kind of cut himself off from the men of the Manosphere. He was on one of their panels and he just said straight up, he's like, you men don't support me financially or even with views. And he said, I'm going where the money is. And I want to say that that was probably spring, summer 2020. That's when he broke off from them. And then shortly
that's
after that, it
absolutely
was the
correct.
average at best. It was the average at best because I was listening in that day when he was on that panel and he said that. He's like, there's no money over here. And he's like, and if you, anybody want to buy me out? Like, I mean, everybody, so he put it out there. He's like, I'm literally going where the money is, and that's with dealing with the women because the black men don't help me. You don't support anything I do. You don't even send super chats, none of that stuff. But
As a
yeah,
matter of
that's when
fact,
he cut it off.
I remember him stating on one young man's panel, you need to buy me out, because
Yep,
they were complaining at that time. The men were. These are the
exactly.
men that gave him the nickname of Godfather. Literally told Kevin, I don't even know why you're on these panels with the Manosphere, because this is after they called him homosexual, right? This is the
Oh yeah,
Manosphere. The same people that are twerking for him now called him a homosexual. I was sitting in the audience, right? This guy, Obsidian was on his panel, was a few other people, and Kevin was up there, and he said, Kevin just lost it. I had never seen him like really cut like that. He was like, look, if y'all have a problem with my content, buy me out. And
he
this
sure did.
person, this person who's a nobody said, well, how much? And Kevin was like, 1.3 million, buy me out. Okay. This person was like, you're lying, you're stupid, blah, 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 blah. Kevin was never back on that panel that I know of. After that, he
No.
could have come back. I don't remember him returning to that panel, but I do remember him saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm doing what I want to do. I think at that point, the manosphere was pissed off that he was starting to gain traction. And some people were whispering, why aren't you, calling us out, giving us shout outs and things like that. He was like, look, none of you supported me when I had 300 people in the audience. It was mostly women. None of you supported me when I did my MIT. His first MIT, I believe, was in Dallas. And none of you came to that. And I remember he had a handful of men, and it was women in his audience supporting him, and not mostly women, but there was a lot of women supporting him. And he was like, you dudes that are complaining about how I move, I study the analytics, I work my butt off, I'm consistent, you all don't present yourselves well, I dress up for the camera, I study the analytics. I mean, he broke it all the way down. And these men were so pissed off at Kevin that he
Yes,
stopped
they
coming
were.
around. And I'm setting the stage. I'm saying all this for a reason. Just hear me out, y'all. Just hear me out. I'm saying this because a lot of people don't know. All they saw was a viral video and became a fan. But I remember when he was talking to men, and men called him a fag. They called him homosexual. They called him purse wearing dude. That the men circulated photos of him with bag. That was before women even knew who he was. It was only a few women, and that was women associated with my channel because they knew of him because of him coming to my channel, and other women orbiting the manosphere, and different people that he would support on YouTube. Those women knew who he was. The general public didn't know who Kevin was. He talked to men, and they dissed him flat out. So when he started blowing up, and I saw all these dudes twerking, and some of them even thought they had the kahunas to come talk to me about anything, showed up on my channel and in my spaces talking about, how dare you talk about the Godfather this and the Godfather that. And I was like, Hold up. Who are you talking to? You talking to somebody that did content with him. I criticize the message. And if anybody knows me to this day, you know I've always criticized his audience, his fans, his obsequious fans who didn't dissect his message. And I always critiqued Kevin, and I said his content was mostly surface. He didn't go into the weeds with a lot of things. He didn't document and show documentation about where he's getting his assertions. And I said his audience doesn't critically think and go through the weeds. They just take what he says at surface level and they don't critically think through his content. So yes, on the surface he is correct, but there's certain um uh points and principles that have to be fleshed out to a group of people who did not have a mother and a father in the home. There's certain concepts about family and marriage that have to be flushed out because we have too much dysfunction. You can't just say certain things and just let it slide. You have to go into the weeds with it, which is why when I did lives on YouTube, they would be 2 and 3 hours because I couldn't just say, just say it. I had to go into the weeds with it and answer questions and show up so that women understood what I was saying. Kevin really didn't do that. He had a 15-minute, 15, 20, maybe 30-minute monologue, and boom, he was talking. He found a formula, he stuck to it, that worked. My problem with his audience was that a lot of them, and I'm not talking about the folks that started following him once he went viral, those are new fans. I'm talking about the men who called him a homosexual before he was even popping. Those men now call him Godfather and want to check me and anybody else that had any critique of him. I have a right to critique the man because I worked with him. I can say what I want to say. I said what I said when he was alive, and I stood 10 toes down on it. I can say what I want to say. It's all you fake people that didn't have anything to say about the man until he died. Now all of a sudden y'all want to say everything with your chest. No, no, no. I said what I said when the man was walking and breathing. I text the man, congratulations on going viral. Do you think you went hard on her? Can I critique you? I'm doing a video. You're welcome to stop by. I'm just letting you know as a courtesy that I'm critiquing what you did with her. I can show you the text messages that I sent him. And he said, have at it. Everybody else is. He certainly did. I had no problems telling him I was about to critique what he said to that girl. Average at best. I sure did. How many of you did it? Did you just fire up and just start attacking the man? So when people start coming at me like, how you gonna attack the Godfather? Yeah, the Godfather this and the Godfather that. Excuse me? I think I say everything with my chest, my mouth, my toes, everything. I say when I say something, I said it. I don't back down from nothing. I've only retracted one or two things since I've been doing this. I have no respect to persons. I'm an equal opportunity offender. Where I see dysfunction, I address it, whether it's male, men, or women. It's straight down the middle. It's too much dysfunction on both sides to pick a side and be like, oh, I'm only going to address women. No, I primarily address women because my products are to help women. But don't think I'm not going to part my lips to critique men and the foolishness that I see them doing. Primarily the manosphere. These men drug Kevin Samuels for filth. and then, and I'm not saying all of them, because a handful of them was 10 toes down with him from day one. They rock with him from day one. But most of them, they weren't feeling Kevin. They left him in the audience when he popped up. Now all of a sudden he's the Godfather. Now all of a sudden you want to throw everybody under the bus that has a critique. No, I'm gonna tell you right now. I can say what I want to say because I said it when he was alive. I said it to his face. I sent him links when I critiqued him, and I said why I said what I said. And I said yes, I agree with him about 85, probably 90% of what he said. But there's some stuff he know is crap, and I said, and I've said it on stages, but it's all these other people saying stuff with their chest now that he's dead. Now you want to come all hard, like you want to, no. And here's another thing about people that I don't understand. You don't have to 100% agree with everybody. That's the part of, I mean, just because women are not saying, "Oh my God, he's right about everything. I'm humbled. I'm such a flawed character. Godfather has totally ripped me apart, and now I am totally vulnerable for you men to just rip me apart and tell me about myself." If a woman isn't on some of that, then she's messed up. She's wrong. She's not redeemable. Can a woman have something to critique? Can she just say, well, I mean, can you go deeper into that? A lot of women on its surface didn't have a problem with what he was saying, but as I said earlier, some of that stuff needed to be fleshed out, and I believe he would have actually expanded um his fan base in terms of women supporting him and actually getting behind him and actually saying, you know what, the brother's right, if he had fleshed out some of those points. But you can't really flesh out those points when your obsequious fans don't want you to help the women. They just want you to beat up on the women. They don't want you to give them any support, any solutions. They just need you to pound, 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 beat them up, beat them up, beat them up, beat them up. And mm,
Right.
so
Well, most of those men in the manosphere, they don't have any solutions. It's all circular conversations that lead to nothing.
this is true. And so my critique of Kevin was mostly his fans. It was mostly, you need to check these dudes. When I did pop up on his lives, what I saw in the chat was uh it was a disgrace. What I saw were women coming on his stage for some were on there twerking and they wanted their name out there. They wanted to go viral. Then there were some women who actually wanted to have a conversation with the man. And it seemed like the more humble you were, the more he actually jumped down your throat. But I digress. There were some women on there, if they weren't attractive to the audience, they literally drug these women for filth in the chat. And I had a serious problem with that. I'm like, he needs to check these dudes. He needs to check them. Who are you? And then I would look at the guys and none of them had photos up. And that further pissed me off. Because I'm like, wait. She's being vulnerable. She's exposing herself, and you're in the chat just dragging her for filth. And you don't have a photo up, which is why when I do stages on Clubhouse, I'm like, wait, you can't. I'm not going to let you sit here and drag women when you don't even have a PTR. If you all seen me do that, I cannot stand there with my soul. How are you critiquing women? And y'all stop letting people with no, you know what they look like and they look a hot mess, and you sit there and let them drag you. Why are you doing this? You know they got 800 pounds to lose, and you letting them sit there and drag you. If you don't get you some self-esteem, if you don't stop letting dudes on this app in particular who do not have a PTR of who they really are, running, just running you down. First of all, don't let anybody run you down, but men who just up here just trying to clown women.
Right.
I just, that irritates my soul. Like, who are you? What are you? Why should I listen to you again? Who are you? Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is the brother wasn't perfect. Did he have a lot to say? He sure did. He picked something that made him some money. And isn't that what we do in the black community? We find something and we stick to it because it's working. It's a formula. He found his tribe. And we can talk about his audience. Ladies, I really want you to dig into that audience because those are the ones I'm actually mad about. I just wanted Kevin to flush out his points more. For example, I didn't like this. You need to have sex with him by the third date. That was a bunch of crap. And I've said this ad nauseum. I've actually said this. And that was something. Wealthy men have options. That was another one I had a serious problem with, but he never flushed it out. So I was like, I have a problem with that. Are you suggesting that men be unfaithful to the wives because he's successful? Things like that. I said that when he was alive. I said it with my chest. I still say it. Um, but it's his audience that just kind of took what he was saying, and they actually want to beat up on women. They don't want a conversation with women. They don't want to marry women. They just want access to women that they don't deserve access to, so that they can, twerk all in her life and not really do anything. So my question to everyone here, and then I'm going to go on mute because I actually want to hear from the ladies. I want to hear from you all. Some of you been sitting on in these audiences listening to everybody else talk, and you have your opinions and things to say. This is not we're going to all praise Kevin, and this is not we're going to all drag Kevin room. This is a honest discussion about what do we do now. He got us talking. Now what? Has his passing changed anything for black men and black women? And secondly, for all the women that are dragging Kevin, now that he's passed away, he's gone. He's no longer on the earth. Does that change your situation at all? I just want to know. Does it change your situation at all? He no longer can do another video about black women. Now, does that make it better for you? Is your life better now? Do you get what you want? Do you get your high value man? Oh, and I want to address one more thing, and then I'm gonna go on mute. There have been some, facts that have come out about the case. And the other day when Julio had the room, we knew a lot of this stuff. We couldn't discuss it because, um, because his job is delicate, so we couldn't discuss some things. But here's the thing: a lot of stuff is being revealed, and it's going to get ugly. I'm just telling you, it's going to get ugly. And the things you're going to hear is going to get ugly. Yes, he lived in a very expensive apartment in Atlanta. Yes, he was with a young woman. No, she was not African descent. Some other stuff had come out about her, but I'm not at liberty. I mean, what you find out about her is on y'all. But that is what it is. There's speculation that he had some Viagra, some type of sexual enhancement drugs. In that, in tandem with the Red Bull, set the heart issues in motion. It's possibility that within the activity that he was partaking in, his heart just gave out. This young woman was there to make the call, and that call came in rather early, Thursday morning. So here we are. He was transported to the hospital and later moved, which I don't understand that part. I'm still trying to get details about that, why he was moved. Um, there was speculation. Oh, we can't confirm it. TMZ didn't publish it. The blogs didn't publish it. One, just because Black America thinks he's mainstream doesn't mean everybody else thinks he's mainstream. So, no, AJC didn't publish it because in their minds he's not, what we consider major celebrity. So that was that. So for all the people going, jumping down people's throats for having rooms and things like that, a lot of people knew things. Well, I would say a few people knew things, but they couldn't really go into the weeds with it because they were waiting on Atlanta PD to make an official statement. They, in turn, said they're not making an official statement. It is what it is. He's just a regular citizen, and that's that. Things were leaked, and here we are. Okay, so yes, he had an apartment. He did not own a home. Yes, he was doing something shady at the last minute with a young woman. Yes, that was that. Was he married? No. Has he been divorced? Yes, twice. Got a daughter. That we do know. And here's another thing for content creators that I need you to understand, that I've always prided myself on, to my critics, chagrin. I have been doxxed on this Clubhouse app. And what they found out was my legal name, but what they didn't find is a criminal record. They didn't find any secrets that they could hold against me. They found that actually do have good credit. They found out I did live in Buckhead. They found out I am actually legally married to the man I said I was legally married to. I had my wedding in downtown, well, actually Midtown. I don't know, I guess that's downtown. Downtown Atlanta. I didn't lie about anything to my followers. I don't lie. I don't have to lie. And I've been teased about being a size 12 since I've been on the scene. I never lied to you. I always showed you my face. I've never run from you. I've never lied about my status. I always came on the scene and said, I'm divorced. I made some mistakes. That's why I'm doing what I do. I never lied to you. You all have been on my journey. You all knew as soon as I had a man that was serious. I told you about it. I told you about my weight loss journey. Told you about that. I never lied to my audience. So all the people doxing me, what you got? What you got? You got my legal name? Okay, okay. What you got? I'm glad you got it so that you can really go into the weeds. And doctor, and what did you get? Nothing. And I'm saying that to say to all the people who want to critique black women and all the men, all the women who want to critique black men on this mic or any mic, you better make sure your background backs up what you say. Just make sure it does. Just make sure it does. And I'm one of the very few that it actually does. And I stand on that. And I will never be dressed down by anyone because I don't have to. I'm the very few that what I say, I don't have to run from you. I live in Dayton, Ohio. I don't have to run from you in the vicinity of Dayton anyway. I'm not gonna tell you the actual bird, but yeah, I mean I live in Dayton, Ohio. I don't have anything to run from. People have met me in person. Sasha has met me in person. I don't have anything to hide from you. I can't teach you femininity. You've never seen what I look like. What kind of sense is that? Oh my God. Also, so as content creators, and then I want to bring some people up talk. As content creators, you better live the life you say. And if you have some mistakes, you better come clean with them. You don't have to be all transparent and tell all your business, but you need to say, look, I'm not perfect. I made some mistakes, and this is my mistake. You better figure out a way to be honest. Because as we see right now with this man, they're going to drag him for filth because he stood on his square about marriage and how men need to, women need to do this, women need to do that. And of course, there's no perfect messenger, but there are certain things when you're talking about marriage, there are certain things that you need to be upholding. And if you are dragging women or critiquing women, whichever word doesn't offend you, critiquing women about their status and how they live their lives and how their body count and how they do this and do that. I don't need to find you doing something shady at the last minute because what's done in the dark will come to the light. I'm just telling you, as content creators, you need to be thorough. And I'm glad I've been doxxed. I'm glad. So now you can see I'm the real deal. I don't have to lie to you about anything. My heart is in this all the way, 10 toes down. I'm in it. My heart is in it. So I said that to say this. How do you feel, Tony, Sasha, Letitia? Someone, how do you feel about the details coming out about him? And what do you think this means for his message? Will it continue? I mean, just talk. Let's just talk. Let's just have a
Well,
conversation. I'm going back on
yeah,
mute.
the thing is like I was gonna say, like, when, my opinion is I always kind of thought Kevin was just not that intelligent. And then the more that things progress with him and him, getting his millions of subscribers and everything like that, I think it felt to a lot of women that he was, bashing and dragging women. And when you don't have that much to say intelligently, then that's what usually happens. You start, making personal attacks or just, dragging Black women in such a way that, yeah, we felt it was abusive. But whatever was going on in his private life, like, honestly, I feel like that's just his private life. But it wasn't anything about what he was preaching. So to me, it's embarrassing, Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel, but it was his private life. Just like if they're doxing you, it's nobody's business. Leave people alone. People just need to be able to live and let live. But yeah,
How do you feel about him being caught with this young woman that's not his wife, that's possibly, in the game? You know what I'm saying when I say in the game.
well, that's the
How do you
high
feel about that?
that's the high value man mantra, right? They trick off on people they can pay, women that they can pay. So he was living his life to that part. He was living up to that part. If that's literally what happened. Yeah, I saw pictures. She was not black. She was not thin, like all the things that he was preaching about.
Great
So
point.
yeah,
Oh,
so you
shit.
so you
Yo,
so the other side of your mind thinks, okay, then dude, you're out here just perpetrating a fraud. You're getting money off the bashing of black women, and then look at what you're doing. It's pretty embarrassing. That's just how I think about it. And when you're not that deeply intelligent, then yeah, you go and you try to hurt people's feelings, you drag them to the core. So basically that's what his platform began to look like. You don't have you're not intelligent deep to the point where you can expound on what you were saying. You have to cut people off. You have to call them bees in mid sentence. And I saw all of what he was doing, and I was cringing. I was like, dang, he's cutting these women off. They
It
can't
seemed like
finish
out
a
of character
sentence.
because when
Yes.
you were on his show, he was so respectful.
Let me tell you, he
Remember
was
that?
so nice. You don't know how many dudes jumped in my inbox after that. I was like, dang. But yeah, and that's when it did seem a little predatory, like how you said, Nicole. It did, like, because it was like he was recruiting or kind of maybe going after, because he even had my daughter come on at one point. So I was like, oh, I better kind of pull back from this, because I didn't really know where it was heading. I mean, at that point, as far as his image and all of that he was giving me tips on, it was A1. Like, he really knew his stuff in that situation. But to completely branch off like how he did, it just seemed a little unbecoming. It just didn't seem authentic to me. And it was all about the money at that point.
Well, everybody jump in here. This is popcorn. I don't want to, as they call it, a library on Clubhouse. I really want you all to voice your piece. Some of you have been sitting on things you want to say. Now's your time to say it. Right or wrong, were you a fan? Were you not a fan? I'm down the middle because I've had good experiences with the man and somewhat, testes. So I'm kind of in the middle. So I just want to hear what's the consensus out there. How do you feel with all the details coming out? Does that change your opinion of him? I've seen some men go 10 toes down. Oh, he was caught with a beautiful Latina. Hey, rah rah for him. And I'm just like, okay, so wait, let me get this straight. So you're dragging black women. Yeah, I want to hear from y'all. Come on. I don't want to be the only one talking. Go ahead, Sasha.
Y'all, it was
so
Big Shirley. It was Big Shirley, y'all.
Tony, oh my God. So for me, I mean, I was always indifferent to Kevin Samuels. I wasn't a huge fan. I didn't hate him like most black women do. I mean, I was indifferent. What he said never really offended me. It was his fans that would really annoy me because a lot of them were dusty. Let's just be honest. It's sad, um, how he died. I mean, to me, it's sad because at the end of the day, he has, daughter, mom. It's sad. The whole thing is sad. I'm more devastated at the people celebrating his death. Like, that to me is devastating. Like, I don't care how much I dislike what somebody says. I could not celebrate the fact that they are dead. And you have to be a sick type of person to celebrate somebody you don't even know on a personal level. To celebrate their death, you have to be a sick person. So to me, I've lost faith in all humanity. Um, I don't know. That's just how I feel. But as far as Kevin, it's sad. The fact that he was with an escort, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't that surprised. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I hate to say it, I just wasn't that surprised.
And I just wanted to chime in too. I was just in another group about Kevin, and they blocked me and everything. They told me I was delusional. I'm never going to get a man to marry me. They hope that I come to my senses, and all these bad things about me that they were saying that Kevin was doing to black women. It was like you're jumping on him for doing that, but y'all are doing the same exact thing to me because I don't agree with all the bashing that's going on with him. I'm not I can't I never really watched many videos that he put out. I've seen clips, and I don't 100% agree with everything that he said, but some of the things I feel like us women we can take from that. Now some of them it came out a little harsh, but if you dissect it and you really get down to the bottom of it, I feel like he really was trying to help. Like it was one lady on there, and she was like, well, I have three baby daddies and they're all gangbangers, and I never knew what love was. I don't know how it feels, and I'm toxic, but I want a millionaire and I want a good man and I deserve that. And it's not that she doesn't deserve that. Everybody deserves to be loved unconditionally, and it was the fact that, do you really think that you have a good chance at getting someone not like that has millions and women falling all over for them? Because you have to think about, it's women that have their own table, got any type of table that you might ask for to go in any room already set up. It's women working on their dreams. It's women that don't have anything. It might be like, like I said, that the girl was an escort and coming after this man. And it's like, do you really think that she has a good chance at being with this man? That, not that she doesn't, but do you be realistic? Do you really think that she does? And I feel like when a man says it, a lot of women, not all, a lot of women get offended by it, because it's like, how dare you? You're not a woman. You don't know what we go through. But if it was flipped and it was your homegirl who had all her stuff together, and she's a kind person and she has all these things going, and it's her, excuse me, and it's her and the girl with three baby daddies, and they're going against each other. And then, he picks the girl with the three baby daddies and they gangbangers. To be honest, a lot of people friends and, oh girl, I can't believe he picked her, she dusty, she don't, why he didn't pick you? But it's okay to say, oh no, she deserves him, the girl with the three baby daddies, when it's a man saying, no, that don't look right.
Can I just add to that?
Yes, it's popcorn. You all just jump in there. I want to hear from you
Okay.
all, men and women. Yes, go.
I think my thing with Kevin Samuels, like I've had a moment like when I'd watched his clips and stuff like that, and I just thought this man was crazy and he was just blabbering on. And I took my time out to go watch his videos. And one thing I can say about Kevin Samuels that I find very sad was it wasn't it wasn't what he was saying that was the problem. It was how he was saying what he was saying. That was the problem. And that's where his message was getting lost, because he was becoming too harsh about it. Like, especially the way he was just cussing women off, like being like, oh, you're fat, or just slagging, like insulting them. That was the problem. But I wish he had not done that. I wish he had just tried to get his point across. But then again, when I look at it, people would have not gravitated towards him if he had not been that way. If he had just been calm and just said what he was trying to say, I don't think he would have gotten as popular as he is, like as he did, let me just say, as he did. And that's the society that we live in. So it takes the intelligent people to be able to kind of like filter out and actually figure out what he's trying to say. But he just it was harsh. It was just harsh. But I kind of agree with him in a way, though.
I would
Let me.
like to add on. Oh,
Yeah, sure. I want to ask a question. Um, right before Nawe speaks. And hopefully I pronounced her name right. Do you think, and I'm gonna ask this to Cover Girl specifically because she addressed his tone and his delivery, or his delivery. Let me just say that. Cover Girl, do you think he was so direct and so brash and his delivery came off like that because he knew that would get black women's attention, particularly?
No, I don't even, because if you actually watch his videos like from back in the days, that was never his intention. Like he didn't even, he was coming for men in the beginning. He was coming for black men in the beginning. Like they were going back and forth, like, you know, because he sees himself as a high value man. So he was basically having discussion with men, and then women started to come into the conversation. So it became a thing where he was kind of like telling men, if you want this kind of woman, this is how you need to be. And telling the women, if you want this kind of man, you need to be this. Like, do you know what I mean? Like trying to tell, basically trying to tell people, you cannot be wanting something if you're not even there. Like a rich man is not going to go for you when there's loads of other women that is rich, beautiful, they have no kids, they have no problem, no baggage, like, and they're going to be like, no, fuck that, I'm going to go for you instead. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, so you're saying if he had came out with this loving tone, black women, I love you. I'm doing these videos out of love. I want you to get better.
No, if
If
he had
he
just
had
not
come with
cursed
that
at them,
tone,
he was cursing at them. He was calling them fat. He was like insulting them. That was the problem. Like he was literally. There was one woman where he was like, first he was asking her questions. It's like sometimes he would ask questions, yeah, and then after, and then like the women would hesitate to kind of answer because they knew what was gonna come next. So he would literally ask them, "What's your size?" And they would be like, "Oh," and he'd be like, "Go on, like, what size are you?" And she'd be like, "Oh, a size 20." And he'd be like, "So you're fat." And it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Like, what? There was no need for that. All he had to say was, listen, you're looking for a man with money. A man with money is not particularly, especially a rich man or high value man, or the kind of man you are looking for is not gonna go for a woman like, you know, that is overweight. What I would suggest is maybe you can work on yourself a little bit more and become that woman that you think the man that you want would want. That's what he should have said. But instead he's like, no, you're fat. Like, no, no, just, you're disgusting. Don't even try to go for these men. That's what he, that was the problem.
He he had to be the Omari Hardrick type to tell any black woman anything. I think what it was is that he didn't come across as mostly masculine. He was kind of like, he was kind of ambiguous in that sense. So that's what it was. But Omari Hardwick could have sat up there and said that stuff. Like a guy like Omari could have sat up there and told us that stuff, and we would have received it. So that's the other part of it. I don't feel like he came across as masculine. That's why he had to just super flex on all of us.
yeah. Now, and CoverGirl's point, and Tony, you hit the nail right on the head. If you look like a man that women want to sleep with, you can absolutely disrespect her. As a matter of fact, I've heard men say, I get away with murder. I've seen men get away with murder just because of the way they look.
Right.
And I've and here's another critique of Kevin, which was inconsistencies. And I said this when he was alive, and I ain't, saying it with my chest because he passed away. I said it when he was alive. He made good points, but then it went out the door when you're dragging single mothers. But then I see you, buying purses for Brittany Renner. What are we doing here?
Right.
Like,
He was basically doing, listen to my advice, don't follow my action. That's what he was on.
Yeah, I
absolutely. Yes, jump
oh,
in here. Go ahead, now, way. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, so well, let me first say I think it's sad that he passed away. I think it's always sad when someone passes away before like their mom or their dad. So, even though I'm not a fan of Kevin Samuels at all, I think that's sad. So, rest in peace to him in that way. But with that said, something you said, Nicole, which I completely agree with, and I kept trying to tell people this, he doesn't go deeper into his statistics. He'll say things, and then he doesn't really have deeper information to back it up. And so when he would say this, use the stats, you can say stats and you can form it in whichever way you feel will fit your argument. And that's what I saw a lot. So I didn't just listen to Kevin Samuels. To like the clips, I wanted to go and watch his videos, and because I want to be informed, I don't want to just come to a conclusion and not get more information. And when I watched his videos, I just completely, I didn't agree with him. I think that it wasn't just the his tone. I think some of his messages were just I didn't agree with a lot of his messages. Did he say a few things here and there that I'm like, okay, yeah, I agree, yes. But there were things that he absolutely said that I disagreed with. One of the things that he said men don't need women, but women need men. To me, I don't understand how you can, in one hand, say that he was trying to, do great things for the black community, just my opinion, but in the same sense, he's saying that type of thing that's not going to create unity. And then I've also seen men then take that same phrase and then go ahead and try to spew that at women. So I think there were a lot of things that he did that I didn't agree with, and so it wasn't just his tone. The last thing is, I don't know if you all know about this guy named Eric Thomas, like the hip hop preacher. And people have mentioned him before, and I agree. Eric Thomas gives some very hard truths, but he also talks about his own journey. And he also says it in a way in which he's trying to build people up. And so he can tell you something where you're just like, okay, I'm motivated. I know I'm not doing what it is that I need to do, but I felt like it came from a good place. In my opinion, I know some people think that it came from a good place with Kevin Samuels. I personally don't. I think he was just trying to build his audience. And that's my beyond that. I have a lot more to say on it, but I'll stop there. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody in the audience, thank you for dropping by. This is not we hate Kevin or we love Kevin room. This is I just want to speak my piece about the brother one way or the other. Oh, look at me, I'm rhyming. I hardly ever do rooms on Fridays, but this was a special situation. I actually did content with the man. I actually spoke from my chest about some things that I disagreed with, but I also said he had a lot of things on point. That whole dying alone thing, that was harsh. But the reality of it is, ladies, if you pass on good men, if you make bad decisions, ultimately you do end up doing stuff solo till you die. I mean he was just more direct with it and like ouch, yikes. But that's ultimately what happens. There are some women who have made their bones with that. They've made their peace with the fact that they probably won't get married. He didn't really speak to that. And that was another critique that I had with Kevin. All of them are not going to die alone. All of them are just going to be just as happy as they want to be doing what they want to do. They have made their peace with the fact that they may not ever get married, and they're cool with that. He never talked about those women, to my knowledge. Does if any of his fans can come correct me about that? I've never heard him speak fondly about women who just said, you know what, screw it. I may or may not get married. I'm cool, right? I don't recall him just addressing that or addressing the fact that one inconsistency was you're telling the men not to really bear down and focus on marriage before 35, but you're fussing at the women for not getting married before 35. So if the women are trying to get married to the men and the men are saying I'm not getting married to 35, what are we doing here? So that was another point I really wanted him to like flesh that out. Because when I did it on YouTube, I said that, but I also said what she should be doing and who she should be courting with in at in her 20s. So that it made sense. I didn't leave women with this theory that okay, I'm out here prepping to be a wife, but I'm just supposed to let these dudes sleep with me and pound me all my 20s, and then I turn 30 and now it's a different story because now I'm 30. No, I told the women in their 20s what they need to be doing and who they need to be dating as a solution. So I want to hear from everybody else in the room. What do you think, good or bad, indifferent? How do you think? What do you think about the reaction to his passing? The details, like let's flush it out. Do you think his fans went too far? Do you think that they're in the right? What do you think? I see some fellas on the stage. I really want to hear from him. Go ahead.
Um, hello, Michelle. So let me, Nicole. I'm sorry. Let me speak on a little bit. So I am a fan of Kevin Samuels and his work. At the same time, I do like just hearing from the women, that have spoke about it. It does put little things. It does give me like a different perspective. On some of the things that he might have said, stuff like that. But my only pushback to to the ladies is, how, if you know what I'm saying, if Kevin Samuels delivery is is what you guys deem as being harsh, then I mean, how do you tell a woman, or even just a man, just a man, period, how do you tell them the truth without being offended, without them being offended, because, like, let's keep it a buck. I mean, like, the truth is not always, like, it's not a easy pill to swallow. So, I believe that his message has hit the it has hit the masses in terms of what I'm saying, of black men, because it has you know it has allowed, a lot of people, to especially women, to see things from our perspective, and things that we don't say. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, like, that's it.
So, Nicholas, thanks for sharing. I have a question. So, now that he's passed, now what? Do you think his presence, definitely from your perspective, it was a good thing, but so now what? Are you all waiting for another Kevin to speak for you? Do you think this has empowered men to be more proactive in their own lives with women? Like, does this improve black men, black women's relationship? Like, what do you think?
I believe so. I'm gonna be completely transparent. I believe so, and the reason being is because, again, like, this is something. The message that he was sending was something like that was like completely like swept under the rug. It was like something. It was just like something that we didn't talk about, but at the same time we knew. And I'm speaking for most black men. You know, were the ones that weren't as vocal as Kevin was. So, I think you know his message will continue to be pushed forward, in the eyes of other people that are in the public eye and stuff like that. But, it's like his message is not going anywhere. I don't believe so. Because it was too profound. Although again, to respect to the ladies, to the ones that think his message was harsh. At the same time, it did have a lot of truth, a lot of harsh reality, and that's something that we just have to face. If we're going to, build this community right, like Kevin wanted, stuff like that, and build it right. We have to face, like, some hard truth and some harsh realities, within ourselves. So, you know, yeah.
Um, can you guys hear me? You guys hear me?
No, you sound really low.
Uh, what about now?
No.
Can you hear me now? Oh, all right.
I have something to say. Do you all mind?
Yes,
Yeah,
this is
go ahead.
popcorn style.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yes, it's
Well,
Friday. Keep it lively, y'all. I want to hear what you all think about everything. Go ahead.
absolutely, absolutely, I will. And thank you for inviting me on stage, Nicole. Now, I'll say this. Um, it's very, very sad and very unfortunate that he lost his life. And it's sad and unfortunate that anyone loses their life, especially people that look like us and that's from our community. It's very, very sad and very unfortunate. So, blessings and prayers go out to him and his family. Now, I'll also state this. When we speak on Brother Kevin Samuels, we also have to understand, too, that there are a plethora of other content creators that speak on the very same subject. So, because brother Kevin Samuels, he passed away. It doesn't mean that this is going to stop. This is going to continue, and it's going to get stronger and stronger because we have a plethora of other content creators. Now, be it Kevin Samuels set the bar very, very high. He brought a level of professionalism to it. He brought a level of good production quality to it as far as his podcast. But this is a subject matter that is very popular in the Manosphere community, especially in terms of podcasting and being content creators. So this brother is just one of the many brothers who express their opinions on this. Now, do I agree necessarily with everything he says? I agree with a great majority of it, but I don't agree with all of it, right? I'm a professional man. I mean, I'm considered, I guess, what he may call a high value person. I mean, I'm not going to expound on what I do or my income level, but I do very, very, very well for myself. I don't necessarily agree with every single depiction of what a high value man is for I from what he says, but I do agree with certain aspects of just being realistic, people having realistic expectations, and it's right for men to have the same expectations or expectations period as women have expectations. I don't necessarily believe that a woman it is unmarriageable. I don't necessarily believe that a woman cannot achieve what she wants, but I do believe that a lot of women and a lot of men do need to have need to live in reality, right? And have realistic expectations and not false expectations that's propagated on social media and the media, and the television, because those expectations are not real and not based in reality. That part I definitely agree with. I don't agree with it. I didn't necessarily agree with his delivery, but I don't agree with the delivery of a lot of the content creators that kind of speak similar to the same message, that he speaks. But I do agree with the overall message, if that makes sense. And I think that we have to come to terms and understand that, there's a lot of things that we need to do in our community as far as black women and black men to for us to have better communication and better understanding of each other so we can grow strong and learn to properly love each other. I was disheartened and hurt to see black women uh, disrespecting this man's name when this man passed. To me, that is egregious and that's evil. You don't disrespect a person's name if they pass. That's some regardless if you agree or disagree. And that's just how I feel on that. So mhm.
Here's the issue that I have with that, right? The women will talk about the delivery, but as someone pointed out earlier, um, it depends on who's delivering the message. Because somebody used Omari Hardwick, and that was the perfect example. It's okay if it's
You kind of fading out, brother. I can't hear you.
okay. I hope you
Yeah,
can
yeah, I
hear
can
me
hear you
now.
now, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I remember during the era of Too Short, and he had this thing at the beginning of the song. He's like, hey girl, you want to fuck? Oh, you don't like for nobody to talk to you like that?" And that was one of his most popular songs. So to say that women don't respond to that, I think that's a bit disingenuous. It's just who's allowed to get away with it. And let's also be honest, ladies. Don't some of y'all talk like that? Aren't you unnecessarily harsh to men that you're not attracted to?
Yes.
I know you are because I've seen how you are. I've seen how you give dudes who you're not attracted to backhanded compliments. I've seen what you say to guys that are a bit chubby. You nice for a big dude. I've seen the mean spirited little things you do to guys that you don't like. So, in that sense, Kevin Samuels, right or wrong, was the avenging angel of all those dudes that you were unnecessarily unkind to. And I know somebody's going to say, well, that's not me. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And I'm telling you, you're lying. I'm telling you, it's cap. I know some of you have done it. because it's a part of the human condition. I know some of you have been unjustly cruel to some of these men. Now, was it necessarily, did it go too far? Did it go to excess? Yes, it did. Did it go to excess? Of course it did. The same way it was excessive and unnecessary when you did it. There was a show that came on um, during the early 2000s called Everybody Hates Chris. Does everybody remember that show? Does anybody in here remember that show?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
There's an episode on there called Bad Boys. Chris was always trying to get next to this little light skinned chick in his building, Tasha. And so he saw this character that was made up called Slave or Slave. And Slave or Slave literally had a song called I Ain't Nice. Get out my face, bitch. I ain't nice. I ain't nice. I ain't nice. Slave or slave. And then what he did was they had that same uh, uh, dilemma. He had that same dilemma when he was talking to Tasha and being a gentleman. She had his balls in a ringer, but the second he switched it, all the girls in the neighborhood, the second he started clowning the women that came in the store, the next thing it was call me, call. I mean, he was just going off. He was ranking on them something fierce. And then after he just got finished ranking on them, they would turn around and give him his phone number. Now, I know the urge for some of you to say, well, that's juvenile. No, some of you do that. And some of you have done that to men that you're attracted to. So to pretend as though Mr. Samuel's tone was just so offensive to you, I would argue that you're a bit disingenuous and you haven't engaged very much in the dating world because this happens all the time.
But don't you
So
think it goes both ways, though? I mean, I've made a comment before,
that's
and
that's
that we, as a race, of black men, black women, as a race, as a human race, we tend to tear down each other like nobody else. For whatever the reason is, we tend to,
you can't.
ostracize and cripple one another rather than building.
Here's the problem. You could use that excuse, but that doesn't get you out of the dating. Yeah, we tend to do it. People tend to do it. Human race, whatever you want to say.
No, we're
It
not
goes.
going to talk about everybody. Let's talk about we talk about who we are. At the end of the day, you're absolutely right. I've said some things, and stuff, and I've dated quite extensively myself. And it goes back to, when you sit there and you say, well, Kevin Samuels has passed away. I think one of the brothers, Kev, said, to hear women, say some very disparaging things upon, hearing or learning about his death is, I think he said, was not nice or uncool. I don't want to go into the
It's
word
evil.
verbatim.
It's
It
evil.
was
It's
evil,
evil.
okay, and that's fine. But I was watching Dr. Phil show. It was yesterday, and I'm not sure if anybody saw it. The young lady who's just killed the gentleman in Florida, Crystal Water. I believe her name is Crystal, and she stabbed her African American boyfriend. I believe he happens to be Nigerian, so let me correct that. He was Nigerian, but he happens to be like a stellar student somewhere in Florida or what have you. Comes from a really astute family. The thing about it was that he put up a lot of belligerent things, talking about how black women are only good for making babies. They were dumb. They walk around with their weaves. So he said some very, very some very nasty things about women. But then Dr. Phil called this white woman stabbed him. Now, and he's dead. And she has not been charged with murder. Now the family had the nerve to sit there and they want support from the black community, more specifically black women, and there has not been any public outcry. It took for Dr. Phil, a white man, to say yes to them. If you don't believe me, you can bring this up on demand. It took for Dr. Phil to say, well, your son said some very nasty things about black women. Said black women were only good for babies. No one would marry us because we're ugly, we're loud, we just, these are the things that her son said about black women. Now, I say all that to say is that, listen, there's no reason for the young man to be put 6 feet under. But now when these things are happening to people like a Kevin Samuels or this young man or whoever, whether even we think we can put even Kanye West there. Now all of a sudden you want the black women, more the black community, more specifically black women, to stand up and say, oh my God, we're so sorry, this shouldn't have happened. You're not getting it anymore. Black women have been told by black men We've been told for many years that we were either ugly, our hair is nappy, we talk too much, we need to learn how to be
Wow, that's
submissive,
crazy.
we need to know our place. We've been told that for so many years. For so many years. And if you're only 25, then you wouldn't know what happened 35 or 40 years ago. And if you're 40 years old, then you wouldn't know what happened 55 years ago. This is what we've been told. My thing is this: if you're an African American male and you happen to be attracted to another race of women, whether they Latina, Asian, Caucasian, or whatever it is. You can get there without tearing down a black woman. You can get there. You can say, you know what, I just happen to love her. You know what? She happens to be who I'm attracted to. She happens to be the person that I want to build a future with. But you don't have to sit there and say black women are loud, nasty, nappy-headed. They only good for making babies. You don't have to sit there and say that. So just like Kevin Samuels sat and called black women leftovers. He called them
Wow.
leftovers.
Can I get a room set? I know there's a few rooms like this today.
No, but that's
So
that's what I'm saying
did
to
it
you is
did it
that
did he die with a heart attack with a white hooker? Is that what
he
happened?
called with a white
No, no, no.
woman. The woman was a Caucasian woman. She happens to be a nurse.
Well, what was the
I
cause
want
of
to
death? A heart attack?
A cardiac
Okay,
arrest.
so he
So
died of
for
the heart
now, it's
attack with a white hooker. Is that
yes.
correct?
can you guys,
Okay,
But I
well
don't
that's
know
can
if
you
she's
guys
a
fair
hear me?
hooker.
enough. I
I
mean,
don't know if she's a hooker
that's
now. I'm not gonna call
that's
her a
quite a
hooker.
turn of events.
Right. I'm not gonna
The,
call her a
the
hooker.
person in that house behind me is behind bars. I don't know. It's crazy. Isn't that crazy? They didn't remove the bars out of the White House.
Can you guys hear me?
But I'm not gonna call her. I won't just beat her down because from what I read is that the young lady who happens to she was helping doing chest compression. She knew how to do chest compressions because she's an actual nurse. I'm not sure at Grady or
She
what
was
hospital.
practicing chest compression on him, and
She was
what the
trying to
fuck?
do chest compression and on
For
him, and when
what?
she
For what
called
reason?
911 because
And
she
she was a
had a
hooker.
heart
So hang on.
attack.
Insurance.
So hang
I'm
on,
so
everybody.
lost. So,
Tony,
say it in one
T-
sentence, dude. He
Tony wants to
died from a heart
respond to
attack.
Tendu.
Fucking a hooker. He died. Like
Don't
say it in
call her
one
that. You
sentence.
see, there you go. You just
Summarize
said
it.
something nasty.
Well, no, I don't care. Well, it's nasty what the fuck the guy did. I mean, he's obviously a fucking
But
tall
don't
Asian
call
guy.
her a name like that. That's what we were just finished saying. Whether she's black, white, or green, you called her a hooker and you don't even know anything
Sister,
about her.
sister, he was a troll, sister. Don't even get that energy. He was a
Oh,
troll.
that's mean to say
Right,
stuff
right.
like that. That's mean.
He's a
See?
But
troll.
he was a troll.
He's
He was a
gone.
troll. So
Dude
let's
was
just
a
stay on
troll.
So
that.
Don't pay him no mind.
He was a troll.
So everybody in the room, make sure you find his name and report him because Clubhouse is not letting people do that. They're booting people off the app for that.
Absolutely.
So if you all can help me with that, Tony, did you want to go ahead and respond to her? And then this is popcorn style, y'all. This Friday night. This when I'm laid back. I want y'all to pop. Let's set it off. Anything you want to say about the man, good or bad, I want to hear it tonight. Go ahead, Tony.
Yes, what I wanted to say was this. Um, it's my personal opinion that a lot of these nin cells and incels are dangerous. And I'll say this. I think everybody should have a CCW, and I won't go any further than that. Now,
especially black women.
to the point, okay, whoever it is, get you a CCW, regardless as to who you are. Secondly, I can't, here's one thing I'm not going to do. I'm not going to let the conversation be shifted to the most extreme examples here, because clearly I don't think that every harsh word or criticism warrants or will go in the direction of a black woman or a black man being hurt. If that black man did that to that black woman and he's worm food, that's exactly what he deserves to be, in no uncertain terms. But then by the same time, it's disingenuous to pick the most extreme example and then want to put that on Mr. Samuels. We do that a lot. What I'm saying here is something that happens every day inside of these dating relationships and mating rituals. And people don't walk away being insulted. People don't walk away with someone being hurt or attacked. It's these little informal things that we do to each other because what we're trying to do is put one another in their place or what we think their place should be. And why the reason we're doing that is because it lessens our anxiety because we're attracted to that person, but we don't necessarily have the conversation skills or the personality to hold their attention. So these little hacks that we do, these little conversation hacks that we do to get an audience, that are not geared towards necessarily disrespecting, excuse me, not geared towards killing anyone, and stop short of really abusing or hurting someone's self esteem, we engage in this all the time. So my comments are not to be shifted towards the most extreme examples in terms of Black women being hurt. You do have a legitimate cause of action. You do have a legitimate complaint. But I would say, as I said when I responded to you, get you a CCW. Get you a CCW so that when a nigga gets out of line, you can correct him. What does that mean? Am I calling for the random murder of people? No, I'm calling for self defense. You defend yourself. But I don't think that this rises to the level of disrespect. Do you have someone that's going to take what Mr. Samuel says out of context and misapply it and go to the extreme? Of course. But I would think we would be at least be as intelligent as the junkie. See, when someone gives the junkie a bad dose of drugs, he doesn't stop doing drugs. He just goes to another deal. He doesn't say, I'm giving up all, I'm giving up all this crack. This crack is bullshit. This heroin is bullshit. This angel dust is bullshit. No, he goes and deals with the dealer that he knows has good shit. So I'm asking you to use a little bit of critical thinking skills here. No, every comment, and that wasn't the context. These comments don't necessarily end up in life or death situations where someone loses their lives or someone is in danger. It's the mean little games that we play with each other every day. And no one manages to lose an arm or a leg or their life behind. So I would think we would be a little bit more objective than that.
All I'm saying is that you can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and disparage people, period, and try to make a profit off of that very thing. And that's what he did. He built a brand. He considered that what he did a brand. Okay, that's what he did. And based on what I know about people, building brands today in today's world, their brand is everything. Their name is everything. And sometimes whether or not we won't know, because I personally didn't know the man, so I can't say behind the closed doors whether or not he actually spoke to, let's just say, his mother, his sister, his brother, and say, you know what, this is just good money for me. But in reality, I really don't believe these things. We don't know, and we will never know how much of this stuff is really him and whether or not this was a persona. We don't know. And that's the beauty about, the social media age today, is because you know what? We get so caught up and hung up with everything social media, but we don't know how much of this is really not who these people really are, as much as it is they're selling a product. Now, my thing is, it was the product that he put out. Okay, and I'm not going to begrudge anybody from earning a profit. Maybe it was quite lucrative for him to do that. Maybe it was quite lucrative for him to do that. But my thing is you cannot, and this is the part that is very, if it grinds me to, it feels like grind glass in my hand. And because this is what I say, stop trying to tell women, especially black women, if you're not for us, then you're against us. If you're gonna sit there and say disparaging things, stop trying to tell a black woman, oh, you know what, black women, oh yeah, you know what, he passed away, so you know what, you guys can feel this way now. No, you don't get to see, that's the problem. You don't get to make that a decision for us. We make that. The question is, you can ask us, you know what, black woman, how do you feel now? I know he says some things. That's the first thing as a black man you should say out of your mouth is, you know what, sis? I know he says some cruel things. The mere fact that people would come up here, especially male, blackmail, to say, you know what, well, there was a lot of things that he said that I found to be truthful. I thought what he was saying is kind of truthful, and it was key in part, of course, for building a black community. Black community where? Building where? When you're sitting there calling people, understand something. A black woman can't marry herself. She needs somebody to be married to. And if a black man is not going to marry her, because he's not ready to be married, but he's ready to be a father. He's not ready to be married, but he's ready for this. He's not ready to do any of it. So we can't get married to ourselves. We need you guys to want to be married to us as well. But if everybody want to sit around and play house, this is what we do in our community. So if you want to, and one thing about me, I would give a lot of truth serum. Our community is hurting and falling apart. And the reason why is because as a black woman, we don't trust you guys enough to lead us anywhere. AKA Kevin Samuels. He led a lot of people away from their husbands and their boyfriends. He led a lot of people away. He led a lot of people away. Marriages, relationships fell apart because he was crack telling women you should be submissive, learn how to be this, learn to shut up when your man is speaking. I started listening to Kevin Samuels when he first came out with his podcast. He was not nothing new to me. He was a turnoff.
Well,
Because if we
actually,
can't
But
come
I would say,
together, if we can't come together and love one another and find a common ground and say, you know what, we need to build for each other and find out what it is that we both need. If we need each other, and that's a big if, because you can sit there and say, oh, a man needs a woman and this woman needs a man. And both of us are pulling so far apart. Women are saying, forget you. The men are saying, forget her. That's not going to work.
Hindu, can I
but
ask you
Go
something,
ahead, go
when,
ahead,
Hindu?
but
please, baby.
Um,
when,
um, and
oh,
then
go.
I'm gonna let Nicholas speak. And I'm not defending him, but I'm in the middle tonight because I want people to feel like this is not I love you space or I hate you space. This is get everything off your chest. I'm gonna let everybody rock out tonight. But I do want to point out that he has been criticized about telling women that they shouldn't have gotten a divorce, actually, that they shouldn't have left their marriages. And some women criticized him for saying that. So, to your point about he's tearing up marriages, he's actually, and I'm not saying that that hasn't happened, but what I've heard is that people have come down on him about telling women that they should have stayed married to their exes, so they've been criticizing him about that. But let me ask you something, Tindu. Who will black women talk specifically, because you're a black woman, who will black women listen to about how to fix this, about their behavior, about their areas of opportunity? And we all know sisters have areas of opportunity. I don't think anybody will argue that point. Who will they listen to, Tindu?
I think,
Nobody,
But
nobody,
what,
Nicole.
my
I,
Because they attack you, right, Nicole? They don't listen to
Child,
you.
I've
So who
been
they listen
called
and I
to?
was
everything
getting
but
ready
a
to
child
say,
of God.
you know what?
The truth
And
is,
As
Sasha,
sweet
nobody.
as you
Sasha is right.
are,
I
they
think
attack
in the
Nicole.
reality is
So
that,
Nobody.
the only thing is that either if we can't listen to each other as women, sisters, whether you're a black sister, a Spanish sister, whatever sister you are, because and the reason why I say that is because there's no race that's out there that haven't gone through what we've gone through. Women get cheated on, whether it doesn't matter what relation, race or religion you are. Women get abused mentally, physically, and verbally, no matter what race you are. So I think in the grand scheme of things is again we have a trust issue. So the thing is first and foremost, how do we gain trust? And if you can't gain trust within, let's say your closest friend who can be your ally, because more than likely she's going through
But
some
here's the
things.
thing,
And
Tindu.
granted,
I
go
agree with
ahead.
you. There is a trust issue with black women. But my point is, I've been said, and then I'm gonna let Nicholas speak, and I want others to jump in. Y'all, this is every man for themselves. You gotta jump in here.
Do you mind if I
Uh,
say something
yeah,
after Nicholas?
absolutely, absolutely. Let
Go
me
ahead.
get this out, and then I'm gonna let Nicholas talk because he did come off mic. I've heard women say, Nicole, you're too harsh. But I've gone in rooms on Clubhouse where y'all literally cussing each other out. And I'm like, I've never
exactly.
called any other woman on this app out of her name. I've never cursed. I don't curse in general in public. No, I'm just playing. I have my moments, right? But I'm never disrespectful at calling women out of their names on this app. But y'all love spaces where this goes on like that's commonplace. But they'll tell me I'm harsh. Go ahead, Nicholas.